We've all seen the DJI FPV drones by now, but did you know you could actually get a better flying, more capable drone with the same return to home functionality and DJI O3 air unit on board? Well, I was all set to buy one of the DJI FPV drones until I found this. And if you're looking for the absolute best cinematic 5-inch, it is this. It's the Iflight Nazgul Evoque V2, and to put it bluntly, this thing is insanely good, but there are actually some instances where this might not be the best option for you. Let's get into it. So what is it that makes this the best 5-inch freestyle cinematic drone that you can buy? Well, if you're looking at this, you're also probably considering options like the Gepard C Mark V, the Diatone Roma, and maybe even one of the FPV drones from DJI. But what is it that makes this thing stand out? Let's talk about the hardware first. So there is carbon fiber everywhere on this drone. It's got a nice solid bottom plate. The arms are made of 6mm thick carbon fiber, so they are going to hold up really nicely in a crash. It's also got these plastic side covers that run up and down the sides of the quad, which are going to protect against debris getting in. So if you hit grass and it flings off the propeller, you're not going to get grass and water and all that sort of stuff into your flight controller, which is just going to cause it damage over time. And one other thing that's a really nice little detail, they've also got these rubber USB-C covers. So iFlight really have thought about everything with this drone, and they have gone the extra mile just to make sure everything is safe and secure and protected against sort of damage and debris. Moving on from that, it is also powered by these Zing Motors, and these are so efficient, so powerful, and with these prop combinations, it's actually remarkably quiet. I expected this thing to be so loud and noisy, but it's really not that bad, especially for a freestyle FPV drone. Before I go any further, I just need to mention this video is not sponsored by iFlight. I bought that drone with my own money, and this is just my honest reaction, my honest feedback. This thing is just, I had to make a video about it. Let's talk a bit more about the powertrain. So I'm running this on 6S 1300 Ovonics lipos, and these things, honestly, these things are amazing as well. But I'm getting anywhere from 3 minutes flight time if I'm absolutely ripping the hell out of it, up to around 8 minutes if I'm just cruising around getting some nice slow cinematic footage. And those kind of flight times are allowing me to get anywhere from like 2.5 to 3 kilometers out, capture a shot, and then come all the way back, because this thing is a rocket ship. And talking about batteries, I actually also want to recommend a charger. This is the one that I've been using. This is the Toolkit RC M7AC, and it is such a small compact charger. Plug a parallel board into it, and this, especially for me who's traveling around a lot, this is an absolute beauty of a charger. So yeah, I recommend that if you're in the market for a charger too. I said this thing is a rocket ship, and I'm not joking. It'll do around 200 kilometers an hour, and I've clocked at over 180 on the GPS system on this. So it's quick, and it's probably got like 100x times the power of a normal Mavic. So if this is going to be your first freestyle 5-inch after owning just like a normal Mavic drone, this is going to absolutely blow your mind. One thing that a lot of people talk about who have had this drone is the tune, and honestly, they are not wrong. This thing is tuned so well. It flies like it's on rails. It is buttery smooth. You do get some prop wash if you're not flying very efficiently, or coming back through your wake. But honestly, if you're just flying normally, this thing is absolutely unreal. It tracks where you want to go. It just think where you want to go, and you think through your fingers, and it just goes there. It's amazing. I did actually change the rates from the stock ones. I'm going to put them on the screen now, the rates that I'm using, but basically I wanted a little more authority on the yaw, and I wanted just to have a bit more expo and then just a little bit less sensitivity around the center of the stick, because I'm mainly going to be using this for cinematic flying, so I don't need to be doing any crazy flippy floppies. I just wanted precision and control. Another thing that makes this stand out among the rest is the fact it's got a very, very good GPS module on board. I've heard some other ones do have GPS modules, but they can be really slow to lock onto satellites and stuff. This gets satellites really fast, it's really accurate. I've set up GPS rescue so that if I lose signal or if I just flip a switch on the transmitter, this drone will turn around and come straight back to me. And I've tested it out, it works remarkably well. So that's a huge selling point for me on this drone. You can get the Nazgul in a dead cat frame, or you can also get it in a true X frame. I went for the dead cat, obviously. You can see the front arms here are slightly further out, so it gets the propellers out of the view of the camera. Now, if you wanted to just mount a GoPro on it anyway, it doesn't really matter which one you go for. But for me, I wanted to have the ability to record straight off the O3 air unit. So the dead cat version was like a no-brainer for me. It flies incredible. I don't know what the True X version would fly like, but I can't imagine they fly much differently, because the tune is just, oh, It's so good. Speaking of the camera, this one has the DJI O3 fitted, which means you can use it with the goggles 2, the goggles V2, or the goggles Integra, and you get super low latency, HD video feed, and you can also film straight onto there at up to 4K 120 frames a second, which is just ridiculous. And you can film in 16:9, or it also gives you the option to film in 4:3 aspect ratio, which is really nice if you want to film things to crop the verticals for like Instagram Reels, TikTok, or whatever like that. So the fact you've got that option is really nice. You can also just use Rocksteady, which gives you really stable footage straight onto the SD card. Or if you don't want to use Rocksteady, just film in normal mode, and you can just put the footage into GyroFlow later, and you can stabilize it in post. Gives you a bit more control over how smooth you want things, etc, etc. You can put a GoPro on it. I might do at some stage, but to be perfectly honest with you, the footage I'm getting out of this already is more than good enough for everything I want to do with it. So yeah, not sure if I'll ever do that, but it's an option. It's right there. You can get it in various different protocol options. Now I went for ELRS, which is sort of a super long range, really high quality radio link. It's open source, it's kind of the new kid on the block, but it's really, really good. And I've paired it with this, which is the Radiomaster Zorro Max. This is a fantastic radio. Got the AGO on, full metal gimbals. Honestly, it's a dream to use. The only thing that can be a little bit funny with ELRS, it can be a little bit more tricky to get set up initially. It requires sort of a bit more computer savviness. But if you go on Joshua Bardwell's channel, there's plenty of videos on there to get it all set up. And once it is set up, it's, yeah, you just connect it up, set your binding phrase, and it's good to go. Range-wise, I've had this thing out to about 3 kilometers so far. You're really only limited by your battery life. And the ELRS link was still like 100%, it was still perfect. And the video transmission was also like perfect. So range-wise, you're just limited by how big a battery you can put on this. And really a 13 or 1400 is gonna be the sweet spot for what you're gonna use. It's gonna give you decent performance and also gonna keep fairly lightweight, because there comes a point where you put a bigger battery on and then you're just lugging around the extra weight, and it sort of doesn't make sense. The payoff is just too much. So 13 or 1400 milliamp hour 6S is the way to go. So you might be thinking, what does something like this actually cost? Well, when it comes to price, it's probably going to end up being more expensive than just buying a ready to fly DJI drone off the shelf, and that's because you have to buy everything separately. But the thing is, once you have all the separate bits, they're all transferable. So you've got your radio, your goggles, your batteries and all that stuff. You can then just buy a completely different drone to this. Say you want to try the Gepard C Mark V, buy that, link it to all the rest of the stuff you already have, and it's as simple as that. So really, once you have everything, it's sort of a cost you don't have to recurringly buy. So the drone itself cost 1,100 Australian dollars. I'm going to give you all the prices in Australian because that's just what I paid. The goggles too are the same, 1,100 Australian dollars. The Radiomaster Zorro Max cost me $400. Spent about $300 on batteries and chargers, and then just other like consumable bits, props and whatever. It's probably another couple of $100 there, but you know what? A lot of the stuff, like I said, is transferable, so plus, like, come on, it's worth it. I haven't actually crashed this yet, which is a bit surprising, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at some point. And I'm pretty confident this is going to hold up really well in a crash. Like I said, it's built really well. You've even got this sort of aluminium frame around the O3 air unit in front, so that's going to be protected as well in a crash. But I've got no sort of fears when it comes to crashing this thing because, I mean, well, look at it. It's built like a tank. So when might this not be the best actual option for you? Well, if you're going to want to be flying FPV but close to people or in and around buildings, something like this is not going to be ideal. You're going to want something that's got propeller guards, maybe a Cinewhoop, something more along those lines. But if you're going to be flying outdoor, mountain surfing, or ripping up near beaches, or any kind of interesting sort of architecture or landscape, something like this, the 5-inch drone is going to be absolutely perfect. The Evoque V2 is just so confidence inspiring. This is my first 5-inch drone, and I've only been flying FPV for around 3 months now. I started learning on the Cetus X and then on the Emax Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle, and then I moved on to this, and honestly, this was so easy to fly compared to those two. Out of the box, it does come locked in angle mode, but just plug it into Betaflight, take that off straight away so you can fly it in air mode, and honestly, you're gonna have a blast because it's so confidence inspiring. So easy to fly, and I don't know what else to say. It's a freaking great drone. But you should probably just go out and buy one for yourself. I mean, I'm just some guy on the internet. What do I know? I know I certainly wasn't disappointed, and I'm pretty sure you won't be either if you buy the Nazgul Evoque V2. And if you want to get my first reaction to flying this thing for the first time, check out this video here where I learned to fly FPV completely from scratch. But until then, let's send it.
Oh, I wanna stay